coming up. Stick around. Don't go away. We're coming right back. Welcome back. Thanks for staying on board. John McGuinness with you. And now we're going to transition into the world of politics and help bring information to the surface that I think is of interest to everybody, but certainly those of you who live within and cast ballots within the 7th Congressional District. Last night there was a debate televised on KVIE that featured the incumbent, Dr. Ami Bera, and his challenger, former Congressman Doug Ossie. And because it was, I think, interesting and identified some issues to come up, we sought out input from both these gentlemen today and invited them to participate in the program today, I guess ostensibly, theoretically, for the purposes of continuing that discussion. And Congressman Doug Ossie has opted to accept the invitation. He's here with us in studio.
Good afternoon, Sheriff.
Good afternoon, Congressman. Thanks for being here, sir. Always good to have you.
Thank you.
And Dr. Bera, for whatever reason, was unable to make it, and that's not to be used against him. In fact, he'll have an opportunity, if he's so inclined in the future, to participate. I don't want to cut him out just because he may not have been available today. And just by way of full disclosure, Congressman Ossie and I have been friends for a long time, and I have endorsed his campaign to go back to the House of Representatives. But I also have a good relationship with Dr. Bera and like him. I think he's a nice fellow and enjoy interacting with him, so it's not a personal issue at all. But I would like to ask some questions, and some of which, Congressman, are going to be kind of hard if you're good for it.
I'm good. Let's do it.
All right. First of all, every time I turn around, it seems as though I see an ad that criticizes you, and I think the criticism has some validity to it, for having voted to privatize Social Security. Now, from my personal perspective, I have no plans of ever drawing Social Security, notwithstanding the fact that I put a ton of money into it. And I still am forced to put money into it in an increasing amount. But frankly, even with today's big drop in the stock market, I feel as though I can do much, much, much better in the market, and certainly have done much better this year in the stock market than I have with my Social Security investment, which I don't consider an investment, but it's an obligatory taking of my resources to put into that account, which I'll never benefit from. So I'm not necessarily opposed to the idea of privatization, but I look at the senior citizens that may be desperately disadvantaged by this, and I got to ask the question, why?
Congressman Bera is not telling the truth on this. I've never voted to privatize Social Security. In fact, I have voted to secure Social Security revenues in a separate account so that they're preserved for the purpose that they're collected, which is paying benefits to Social Security recipients. The fact of the matter is, Congressman Bera either has chosen not to read what I've done or is purposefully misrepresenting it.
So you have never. I just want to make sure you got this clear, because this is a huge and oft-repeated message.
I know it.
That you have disadvantaged seniors, which is something that, frankly, I would find offensive, by voting to privatize Social Security. And you're saying
never happened.
You never did it.
Never did it.
Let me just ask you honestly: is there any action you took, any vote you cast, that could have been misconstrued or misunderstood to look like a vote for privatization of Social Security? So you're on the record as firmly in support of...
There's no legislation of any sort that was ever binding or anything. There was a lot of discussion about how do we help seniors, Americans, plan for the retirement security downstream, and we came to the conclusion that the IRAs and the 401ks and the amount that you could put in each of those on an annual basis was too low.
Yeah.
And we moved aggressively to increase the amount that you could put away before taxes in those accounts to provide for your retirement securities. I never voted to privatize Social Security. It is an absolute misrepresentation to say that.
What about retirement age? Social Security draw age?
That's actually a very good point, because I have never suggested changing the retirement age from 62 in some cases and 65 in most. Congressman Bera, on the other hand, has taken a vote to increase the retirement age to 69 years of age, which the American Association of Retired Persons, the AARP, has described as the single worst vote for protecting the standard of living of older Americans that a member of Congress could take. So here I am with a record of protecting Social Security and protecting the Social Security funds from being used for other purposes. And here's Congressman Bera saying, let's raise the retirement age. The AARP, the American Association of Retired Persons, the people who have made a career out of protecting the interests of seniors, saying that was the worst vote you could have done. And Congressman Barra did that on February 6th of 2013.
And you just to reiterate and clarify, you have never voted to privatize Social Security.
Correct.
And to the best of your knowledge, have you ever cast a vote that could any way reasonably construed as having done so?
No. And we've shown this to the B, and the B has debunked Congressman Barra's attack. The B has the data. This is when Congressman Barra has no record and nothing to run on, this is what he does. I mean, it's just total baloney.
In that same ad that I have seen many, many times, I know I'm having run for office myself. I know there's a certain wisdom associated with not necessarily monitoring, not viewing all the ads against you, but I don't know if you've seen this particular ad, but it talks about how you voted to privatize Social Security. Then it shows a person who generally kind of sort of looks a little bit like you, demographic-wise, without showing the face, skipping in, presumably, into the halls of Congress. And there's a commentary about you having increased your portfolio during your time in the House. Now, you've been a successful businessman, but Dr. Bear also is a wealthy guy. Both of you are wealthy men.
Both of us started our careers immediately after getting out of college. I'm older than he is. I'm further along the curve. We've both been successful. I mean, I'm stunned that he would ask that I not be successful as he has been successful.
But where this is,
like I guess, standard.
This is more of a personal philosophical question. But when did it become somehow shameful for people to have had economic wealth?
John, I am very good at what I do.
I know you are.
I'm very good at economic issues and building businesses and creating jobs and putting people to work. I know how to make that come to fruition in a positive way. And as a result, I mean, I've had the ones that haven't worked out, but by and large, overwhelming majority, I've hit doubles, triples, and home runs.
But why do you suppose that has somehow become there's something shameful? Things that used to be disgraceful.
Let me answer the question the other way. Rather than answer the question as to why success is bad, let's answer the question, why is success good? Success is good because every one of us want our children to achieve success. My parents taught me and my sisters how to do that, and I have prospered. Congressman Barra's parents taught him how to do it. He has prospered, and I'm trying to teach my two daughters, just like Congressman Barra and his wife are trying to teach their daughter how to succeed, and that's a good thing, and we ought to encourage that and applaud it when it happens.
I couldn't say it any better myself. You warmed up?
I'm warmed up. Right, I thought you were going to give me a tough one.
Well, we got to take a quick break. We're going to come back. We got more questions for the congressmen, and we'll take your questions too as time permits. 921-1530, 800-834-1530. Quick break. Don't go away. We're coming right back. Welcome back. Thanks for staying on board. John McGuinness with you, as is Congressman Doug Osee, who is campaigning actively
every day
to go back to the House of Representatives, and all the best to you, Congressman. But let me ask you a couple questions. We are suffering from the effects of a drought in this state, and I know that as powerful as Congress is,
we can't make it rain.
We can't make it rain.
Right.
So, and I've seen this for years. About the time I got out of college back when California was in a severe drought. I guess the first time around.
76, 77.
And I think to myself, why not? Why have we not learned? Why back then did we not learn to do things a little bit differently? And I look to our friends in Israel, which is a far, far, far more arid region than California. And they don't have the high alpine snowpacks and so forth that we have here typically. They desalinate and they store water very effectively. What can we do differently here, and what could a member of Congress do to help facilitate that process?
So in this state, the water supply is controlled by two bodies. One is the State Water Project. The other is the Central Valley Project. The State Water Project is the State Water Project. The Central Valley Project is a federal project.
Okay.
Member of Congress has direct say in what the Central Valley Project does. For instance, in this area, Folsom Dam is part of the Central Valley Project.
Right.
Folsom Reservoir is. Shasta is. The canals going up and down the river. Those are all parts, for the most part, of the Central Valley Project. My concern has been and remains, and I've talked about this for well over 15 months, that continuing to release scarce water resources out of Folsom Lake, even back in September and October of last year, I was talking about this, continuing to release water out of there that we were going to need a year hence was a bad idea, and a member of Congress has the ability to reduce or eliminate those flows. And what you really have to watch is how much is flowing in, how much is flowing out. And right now, we are releasing far more water out of Folsom Lake than has been flowing in, and it's been going on for months. My point a year ago was to say we need to stop the outflows now.
Yep.
Otherwise, we're going to be short of water in a year. And now we're a year later, we're short of water. My opponent, Congressman Barra, has come to the same realization a week and a half ago, just the day before they adjourned for going home for vacation. He dropped a bill saying, well, we've got to take care of this. He has refused to challenge the Bureau of Reclamation's assumptions on how much water needs to be released. This should have been done at the very latest last January. But since then, they measure that Folsom Dam releases water in a quantity known as cubic feet per second.
Right.
So far, since January, every second, on average, we've been releasing between 700 and 1,000 cubic feet a second more than is what's flowing into Folsom Dam. That's a bad idea, and a member of Congress has the ability to change that.
That's compelling, and it's a clear visual for many of us. And as you know, I go by that lake almost every day, and you can see the absolute. It's kind of heart-wrenching to see exactly what's taking place there.
It is,
and if there was an opportunity to have done things differently and stored that water,
it may have only amounted to 200,000 acre-feet difference, but that would have been enough to get us for another 6 months.
Right.
And we need rain. I can't make it rain. Nobody can make it rain who's currently serving in Congress. Maybe someday they might, but not now. But we have to preserve what we've got.
What about the economy? You're a businessman. You understand the economy. What do we need? First of all, I look at this in all the data that's being amassed and disseminated now to suggest that we're in this big boom period. And there's some of us, I think, based upon what you do, well, you're going to do fine. But I also see an enormous amount of people unemployed and underemployed, huge numbers. I also have concerns about a story in the Wall Street Journal just a couple of days ago about a third of the jobs currently held in the U.S. are going to go away by virtue of automation and robots in the not-too-distant future. And I can see where there has been a public policy tendency to dismiss the impact, the value of those, especially entry-level jobs that can be replaced through automation now. And there'll be incentive for businesses to do that. What do you think?
The economy in the United States is performing well in some areas and not so well in others. And unemployment in some areas has dropped, and unemployment in other areas hasn't dropped as much. In Sacramento, we have an unemployment rate of around 7.3%. Nationwide, it's about 5.9%. So we're not doing as well as the rest of the country. And it has to do with the regulations and taxes that are being placed on our job creators. What we've done is, over time, we keep layering on bits of straw onto the back of the job creators in terms of what they have to comply with. We've gotten to where we're very stringent and very demanding about what you have to do before you even open your doors. So the job creators amongst us are saying, well, you know what? It just isn't worth it to me.
Yeah.
Why should I take that risk? Now, I know you're in small business. I'm in small business. We have made our bones in this. So I'm not talking about this like I came to it last week. I've been doing this for 40 years. I started pouring concrete the day after I got out of college, and I'm still at it today. We need to take the burden off the back of our job creators and let them run and create the jobs we need.
I think that's absolutely true. Very well said, and it's going to be the final word. I very much appreciate you being here, Congressman. Wish you all the best.
Sheriff, you look great on radio. I just got to tell you.
That's my strong suit. And we have extended the invitation to your opponent and hope to get him have a chance for him to come in and have a conversation with him as well.
I'll see you on the campaign trail.
All right. Be well, Doug. Great seeing you, sir. And that's it for me, but stick around. The lovely Kitty O'Neill's coming up next with the afternoon news. I'll be back with you tomorrow. Have a great evening. So long.